What's up, Planeswalkers? Welcome back to the Only Lens channel, where I cover cool and interesting decks, share knowledge, and discuss everything Commander. Hey, Planeswalkers! I don't know if you caught this reference from the new Bant Clue precon from Murders at Karlov Manor, but Sophia and Tiny are clearly a reference to Scooby-Doo and the Mystery Gang. I have loved Scooby-Doo since I was a kid, so I was super excited to put a list together featuring dog, human, and detective-typal synergies. Sophia is all about tokens and counters, two of my favorite strategies in Magic. When she enters, we make a Tiny token, and whenever Scooby or another dog hits our opponents, they find some Scooby snacks, and of course, clues. Sophia then lets us feed our snacks and clues to our dogs and give them all a buff. I'm gonna do this deck tech a little differently. I don't need to tell you guys to run Soul Ring and Arcane Signet. You already know that. Instead, I'm just going to focus on the main synergies and go into more detail about how this deck plays, my thought process while brewing it, and what to do against a range of other decks. I'm hoping for this to be more educational for all of you, and hopefully help you guys build decks of your own, rather than just copying my lists. This is a mid-range deck, aiming to establish a board that can generate card advantage and ramp through our artifact tokens. Tiny is a great enabler. Having trample and making 2 artifact tokens each combat is no joke. But more is better, so the first step I took when brewing this deck is adding more dogs. Sophia will trigger for each dog that gets in, so she will scale up our token production based on the number of dogs we have. There aren't really enough dogs to make an entire dog tribal deck in Bant colors, so I needed to find another strategy to supplement our dogs. I still wanted to be able to include typal synergies for our dogs, so I wanted to find another type to flesh out the strategy. Sophia is a human detective. Detective is a new type without much support yet, so humans seemed like the best option. Also, it is very thematic to have humans and their best friends working together to solve crimes and murder our opponents, of course. So I looked for humans that work with +1/+1 counters, artifact tokens, and have other human synergies. In any deck where you're trying to meld 2 tribes together, cards like Masswood Nexus and Mirror Entity put in a ton of work. They allow all your synergies between the 2 strategies to meld together, and now any creature that gets in will make us food and clues, and Sophia will buff our whole board, including herself, instead of just the dogs. The next area of synergy I wanted to develop is our oomph section. Essentially, these are cards that, when they are in play, they make our game plan, or at least part of our game plan, twice as effective. These are going to be cards that increase the amount of counters placed on our creatures, and increase the number of artifact or creature tokens we create. These are the transition cards that take us from our mid-game into our late game, and hopefully, a place where we can win the game. I found clones that make non-legendary copies are very useful in this regard. Once we have a board of dogs that can attack, making additional copies of Sophia are going to double up on our Scooby snack production, and thus our buffing potential. Thinking about our game plan and common play patterns, we want to try to get Sophia into play ASAP, so that we can start attacking with Tiny and creating our Scooby snacks. The main problem with this is that Tiny starts out as a 2/2, so even if we get Sophia out ahead of the curve on turn 3, Tiny won't be attacking until turn 4. It can be difficult to get in for damage with a 2/2 on turn 4, and while Trample is nice once he gets bigger, he's going to struggle to get in for damage initially. So I wanted to make sure we had ways to get Tiny into the red zone. I came up with 2 strategies to do this. The first is just good old evasion. K9 is both a dog and can make Tiny unblockable, and our other 2 evasion enablers are humans that have synergies with clues and detectives, which both Sophia and Tiny happen to be. The other way we have to get Tiny in early is by making sure we have some Scooby snacks stored in play before we are ready to attack. We don't even need to feed him the snacks right away. Just having that threat of activation that we can buff Tiny up at instant speed is usually going to be enough to get him in those first few attacks. And finally, we have our veggies, which includes any additional ramp, card advantage, interaction, and board protection we need to flesh out the deck and make it function in a game of Commander. As always, try to prioritize synergy even in this section, such as playing board wipes that are one-sided if available for your strategy. The full deck list is in the description down below, so if you found this deck interesting, definitely check it out. To wrap up this video, I just wanted to talk about some general strategy tips to use while playing this deck. Against control, make sure to save your board protection and counterspells for board wipes. We can handle single target removal pretty well, but board wipes, especially board wipes that wipe our creatures and artifact tokens, really set us back. Our artifact tokens are often a source of both ramp and card advantage for us, so losing them and the creatures at the same time is really brutal. Against other mid-range decks, your goal should be to disrupt their value engines so that you can pull ahead while pressuring their life totals. Against aggro or burn style decks, don't be afraid to use your food for life gain. You can eat those Scooby snacks too. You don't always have to feed them to the dogs. Okay guys, that's gonna wrap up this video. Please let me know if you liked this style of deck tech. I know it's pretty different from what you would usually see in a deck tech and on my channel in the past. My goal is to help you guys get better at deck building rather than just showing off 100 cards I threw together. If you liked the style or found it helpful, please let me know in the comments below, guys. I'd really appreciate it. If you prefer my old style, that's more just showing off a cool build, that's cool too. Just let me know. Thank you guys again, and I'll see you next time. Alright guys, that's gonna do it for this video. Remember to like and subscribe to my OnlyLands for the spiciest deck content on the internet. Thank you guys again, and I'll see you next time.